The presenting sponsor of Moon Tower Soccer is FVF Law.
To find out what makes FVF a different kind of injury law firm, you can visit fvf.law.
Hello, friends, and thanks for listening to Moon Tower Soccer. This week, we're going to recap an emotional week for Austin FC, which included crashing out of the Open Cup to a USL team and a wild draw away in Toronto. We'll also cover some other Austin FC news and updates. My name's Landon, and I'm joined this week by Mike Crignola. Mike, good to see you, bud.
Hey, everybody. I'm Mike Crignola. Thanks for having me, Landon. Doing my best to fill in for Jeremiah Bentley.
So Jeremiah wanted to be here, but he apparently found some really cheap tickets for a cruise in the Persian Gulf.
Oh.
And so he's on vacation right now. And okay, that's not true. He's doing important businessman stuff and couldn't bail on it like he has in past occasions. So
yeah, he's negotiating an oil settlement, right? As I recall, new client base out there in the Strait of Hormuz.
That's right.
Yeah. Congratulations, Jeremiah, on your promotion.
All right. So looking at the show notes this week.
Honestly, before we get into it, I do think Jeremiah could fix a lot of the problems if they just sent him over there. Like, who could say no to that charming face?
I think you're right.
What if we just solved all the problems of the world? Just let Jeremiah deal with them. Who says no?
Not me. Maybe I bet Jeremiah would say no. But
yeah, but he's not here. Congratulations, Jeremiah, on your promotion.
To president?
Or bigger.
Supreme leader.
That's right.
All right. So
Earth
I was
captain.
So I was looking at the notes from last week.
Oh, no.
And I decided we can actually just reuse a lot of these questions. So we're going to go back through some of the opening questions from last week. The first point was, this is the worst season start in club history. I looked back. That is still true. We had the worst start through 7 games. We now currently still have the worst start through 8 games. So we'll maybe keep updating that as we go week by week, and hopefully it will stop being true at some point. But as of right now, it is still the worst start in club history. We asked last week, why doesn't it feel like the worst start in season history? I think we're going to get into that here in a little bit. So we'll maybe loop back around on that question. Is playing up and down to your competition a real thing? Was another question we asked.
What a great question. I think, if I recall correctly, you both agreed that yes, it is a real thing, but a lot of it is around mentality. A lot of it is around what you think you're going to have to put into a game, right? How do you feel about that this week?
I mean, I think that blade cuts both ways, where you see how Austin FC approaches an Open Cup game and how Louisville City approaches an Open Cup game. And talking about the attitude, the ferociousness which those two groups of players were playing in that game, I think Louisville played up to the competition and said, hey, we're coming at you. We're not afraid of you. We're here and we're ready for you. And Austin FC did the opposite of that. So I think it is real and it is a mental thing, but yeah, it can go both ways.
Yeah. Yeah. To be clear, I don't think you can take away anything from what Louisville City did at home against a team from a much higher league, right?
Yeah, and I don't mean to. I don't mean that as a criticism at all.
They came out and played exactly the way that I would have liked to see any team play in a knockout competition. Just as confident and full of belief in themselves as possible, and playing their game the way that they wanted to play it.
Yeah. More on that later, but
yeah.
The last question we asked last week in this segment was, is Nico Estevez on the hot seat? And we kind of said yes last week. How's that changed this week, Mike? What's your take there?
Yeah, honestly, I think this is one of those situations where I continue to be surprised by this club. I would have assumed that there were internal conversations happening, and I think going through the loss with LA, giving up, their first away win in 18 months, and then going into Louisville City and performing the way that they did. It would not necessarily have surprised me to learn that we would have a caretaker manager going forward. And I think I've been on this show before where I had that same perspective. When Josh Wolf was still the coach, we weren't necessarily mathematically eliminated from the playoffs yet, but you could tell we were getting there. And I think this is one of those situations where the writing feels on the wall. And it's one of those things where I am reminded of the Gina Miller interview that Swoon Tower did with FC Dallas's head of communications maybe a month before Nico Estevez was fired. And Gina on that show said, we're all pulling for Nico. He couldn't be a better guy. No one deserves success as much as him, things like that. And those quotes just keep replaying in my head as like what I would love to hear the club saying about Nico Estevez right now. Because to me, that like vote of confidence, kiss of death, like set of quotes is what I would kind of expect to be happening if Roto were available for the press the way that he has been in the past.
Yeah, it would be very interesting to see what he said right now, because he's never spoken super enthusiastically about Estevez ever. Like, even right after they hired him, he kind of spoke very ambivalent about it. He's like, yeah, he's a coach. We hired him, whatever.
He knows how to coach in the heat, was it? Was his like highest form of praise?
Yeah, I mean, the most he tried to defend it was like, well, it kind of makes sense, don't you think? And that was like as far as it went. Not like he's the right person for the job for this and this and this. It was like
he's bilingual. He's around. Yeah, he's bilingual. He speaks English and Spanish, and he has experience coaching in the heat, which are qualities that we want. Great.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Landon? If we were to use let's say a 0 to 100 scale, where 100 is boiling, where would you put the hotness of Nico's seat?
I would say maybe like at a 65 right now, where you're very much on the wrong end of where you would like to be. But given the circumstances and the context around it, I don't know, like, yeah, I don't know that it's like imminent, but
yeah,
a few more games could get it there.
Yeah. Do you still think that it's a situation where we will wait until the World Cup break?
I think so. I mean, unless we go on just like 3 or 4 losses in a row, at that point, maybe you see them for optics pull the trigger and get rid of it. But if it continues as is right now, I think he does just enough to make it through the World Cup break. And then maybe we're wrong and he goes past that. But as the way I see it, that's the kind of the way I would like to approach it, because skipping ahead in the notes here, you put a note here that said like the main comment around coaching change decisions is always, well, who would you want to replace him?
Yeah.
Was there anything else you wanted to say about that?
Yeah, I think the conversation tends to be, right, like, well, who are you going to replace a coach with? And I wonder right now if we are in a place where, looking at the way that our players play, looking at the way that our team structure is set up and the results that we've been getting, the question becomes, does it matter who we're replacing him with? If this is the performance that we're getting out of this squad, does it matter?
My answer would be yes. It does matter, because I think I said this on last week's show. It's like, I don't want to fire him as a punishment. I want to fire him so we can replace him with someone better.
Sure.
And firing him now or firing him a month from now probably does not change the timeline of that process.
Sure. Does it send a message that accountability matters? This
Yeah,
is a conversation that I've seen a lot online, right?
I think that's a fair argument for it.
That by making that move now, we are stating that it's not a punishment necessarily, but it is a statement of intent that like our expectation should be higher as a club, as a team, and someone has to take accountability for where we've been at.
Yeah, and I totally see that that argument. And that's why I think if we lose 4 in a row or whatever, he's gone now. But I don't know. You know me. I'm always going to take the pragmatic approach and say like, well, it's just going to be Davy Arnaud until the break anyway. So let's just wait.
Hey man, he's the only undefeated manager in Austin FC history.
Yeah, that's real stats heads.
Yeah, people who know ball know, right?
I'm not going to say anything else.
Yeah, I've got another question, and this is kind of maybe more narratively focused than tactically focused. Do you think you would feel better, worse, or the same if the order of the last 3 matches were flipped? So we come out of LAFC and Miami, 2 draws against 2 of the top teams in the league, and we come into an away match at Toronto. We score 3 goals on the road, but we do still give up this late goal to end out leaving with a draw. That's pretty good, right? But then we come home, but then we go away to play Louisville in the Open Cup and we lose, and we come home and we lose against LA Galaxy. Do you think after that reaction, or after those sets of matches running that way, would you feel better, worse, or the same? Basically, are we too reactive as fans? And does the Toronto match recover any hope for you?
Yes, in short, we are too reactive. Just not
unrelated to everything else.
Sports fans are too reactive. So I do think that scenario would make us feel a little bit better, but I think it would make us feel better because we're too reactive. Yeah. And I don't think it should make us feel better because regardless of what order you put the games in, we have 1 win on the season.
Right.
Like, yeah, the Roto was talking about how games at the end of the season don't count for more than games at the beginning of the season. That is still true. We still have 7 points. Is that how many we have?
Is that right?
Yeah, 7 points total after 8 games. So regardless of if it makes us feel better, I really don't think it should.
Yeah, I don't like to look at that column right now. So I'm glad you looked it up for us.
Let's go back to not this imagined timeline, but the real timeline. Does the Toronto match make you feel better?
It is nice to score more goals. So like in a vacuum, my enjoyment of the Toronto match is certainly much higher than most of the matches that I've watched this season. As the story of this season goes, no. It is really tough to, again, give up another late goal for a draw in a game that we should have won. And it's especially frustrating knowing the conversation that we were having with Mark Hinckley from the Vocal Minority podcast on Swoon Tower around how Toronto is like built to give up late goals right now. And the fact that we couldn't capitalize on their biggest weakness in a way that like let us get out of there with 3 points is a bummer.
Yeah, I agree with all of that, and I'll continue that point is to say like another reason why I don't feel great about it is because the reason we scored 3 goals did not feel like systematic or repeatable necessarily.
I mean, if the goal is to kick a ball off a defender and have it ricochet into the feet of your like eternal striker, it's not a great goal. It's not a great plan, you know?
Yeah. And so I like watching goals. I like scoring, like seeing that we're scoring more. But until I see that we're doing it in a way that like, okay, the way we did it here will probably work in the next game too. I don't think that's true.
Yeah.
I mean, the set piece thing, sure. Like, I think there is something to that. It's a big enough sample size now that it's not just luck, probably. Like, maybe there's some luck, but I think we are actually quite good at those things. But the rest of it, it's like, yeah, some good play. We'll talk about. We'll give some people their flowers in the rundown of the game because there was some good play. But as far as like a system, a structure, a way of playing, a game plan goes, it did not feel like that was what was happening. Or if it was, it wasn't happening frequent enough for me to believe that it's repeatable.
Yeah. And then my last question on season narratives, as we are kind of into that point, right? 8 games played into the season. Is there a larger conversation to be had about the medical staff? I mean, we lost Dave Tenney and Satoshi Ida to other teams. And when we started, that was something that was really highlighted as a plus to Austin FC's like organizational build, was getting 2 of these guys who are top of their field, working together on the same team. And now we're seeing a lot of injuries. We are seeing players cleared and then playing very little minutes before having to be pulled off the field again. Like, what, if anything, can be drawn from this kind of place that we find ourselves right now?
I'm always, I don't know. I want to be very careful about this kind of conversation in the environment in our world, in our country, of kind of this anti-science movement.
Oh yeah, that's not at all what I'm not trying to say that the players should be carrying crystals in their pockets, or
no, but
you
like,
know.
My point there is just that like there are people involved with like very advanced degrees and a lot of experience doing this exact thing, and I know none of that.
Yes, hard same.
I have no experience. I don't know anything about it. I know, like, this is a point that I've seen brought up in other teams. I think, was it Arsenal, I don't know, 5 or 10 years ago, where they had a bunch of the same kind of injury over and over, and people were saying like, oh, it's the medical staff. I was like, is there any evidence to say that it's the medical staff? Like, what do we know? Who knows enough to say like, yes, this is what's going on? And then anytime that's happened around the world, has it ever come out that like, oh yeah, actually it was, this guy was a fraud and he was hurting our players and he never worked in the sport again? Like, maybe it did. If listeners, let me know if that happened. But I don't like telling scientists they're doing their job wrong.
Oh yeah, hard same. It is a conversation that is happening within the fan base, and I think it is something that like is worth talking about, right? Especially because of the fact that Dave Tenney and Satoshi Ito were both very highly regarded, right? And to pull folks in to replace them that don't seem to carry the same clout within the sport, like, feels like it could be a step down. But in the same way, I think as like you pull in Petar Musa, who is just a guy, and then he becomes one of the best MLS scorers, right? Because like on the global scale, no one's talking about a guy who would be the best in MLS.
Yeah.
Right. Is this a situation like that where sports science and medical staff are not, they're not celebrities, they're not famous. And so just because we don't know them doesn't mean that they're not experts, right?
And also, most people don't understand what they do. And so we have absolutely nothing to judge them on.
Yeah. Yeah, listeners, if you want to know what a performance dietitian it does and is, definitely go back and listen to the Swim Tower interview that we had with Leslie McManus,
Yes,
where she
very
explains like her day to day and like her work. I learned so much from that interview about like the way that the club works with the players around their fitness levels, measuring things that I didn't know were measurable. Very fascinating, very cool interview.
Yeah, I love that interview. That was really, really great. So Nico Estevez was, I think Hernan from We Are Austin TV asked him about this in today. We're recording Monday night. So in today's midweek presser that they did early, since there's a midweek game. And as annoying as I've found Nico in recent press conferences, and like y'all know I don't really care what he says. And like in this run of games, what is he gonna say? Like, what can he say that would make anybody happy? Nothing. We're just losing. But he has kind of annoyed me with some of what Jeremiah calls it toxic positivity. I think there has been some of that, some revisionism in some of the things he said. I think he made a good point on this exact question where he's like, yeah, we have a lot of guys injured, but 2 of them were from last year that have carried over. One of them, like Danny's, like maybe you could say he came back too early, but he trained all week and felt fine. So I don't know, but he was making the point. It's like, it's pretty spread out. They're different kinds of injuries. Like,
Yeah.
what are you going to do? And I kind of agree with that take. Like, it's a contact sport. It's a physical sport. People get hurt playing sports. Toronto had 8 guys out against us.
Yeah.
And a lot of teams have that many guys out right now. We had that many guys out under Dave Tinney. So like, was Dave Tinney a fraud? I don't know. Like, I don't think so. So, you made a really good point on Swoon Shower. I think maybe you did it last week or the last 2 weeks, but talk about your like Tottenham point that you made. I imagine
that's what this note
it.
meant. Yeah. So, in listeners, a little behind the scenes, inside baseball here. Landon just wrote Tottenham as a response to this injury question, and for like Tottenham Hotspur fans, we have had significant injuries this season, which was awful. But this is a different point, I think, that Landon was trying to draw out of me and is now making me connect the dots on, which is like...
I like to keep you guessing, Mike.
Yeah, there's a Tottenham podcast I listen to called The Extra Inch, and on that show they were talking about the way that Tottenham fans have kind of clung to the idea that referees are stealing the games from them. And a lot of that conversation was around how when you don't have a lot of chances and you miss the chances that you do have, and then one of those very few chances seems to be a penalty, but is taken from you by not being called a penalty, you're kind of like hanging your hat on these moments that, like, if it were only for this, we might have had a chance here, right? And so if I were to draw a parallel between the injury situation and where Austin FC is, like, because we are not generating a lot of offense, because we're not generating a lot of ball control, a lot of chances in the box, a lot of progressive forward movement and like creative play, we are hanging our hats on all of these injured players. Oh, if we had just had Brandon Vasquez in here, if we had just had Owen Wolf in the midfield, if Danny had been healthy instead of XYZ player, like, yes, they would be better than who we have, but would it ultimately have changed a lot of things? Like, we can't know, right? And so until we're starting to see a little bit more from these guys who have been out, like, maybe we'll just be the same as we were last year.
And my larger point of writing Tottenham here was just that, like, if we were winning games, we wouldn't be talking about the medical staff.
Yes. Yeah.
Because Austin, again, sports fans are overreactionary. Think back to a time in Austin FC's history where something similar has happened and the team's not doing well. We have nothing else to talk about. And so for some reason, we're talking about the color of Josh Wolf's shirt.
Hey, there's proof. There is empirical evidence on the False Nines website. Cataloged forever.
The scientific journal, the False Nine.
That's right. Yeah. Peer reviewed. I've reviewed it. I've looked at it. I'm one of their peers. That's what that means, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's accurate, that like this idea of well, it has to be, there has to be a reason. It has to be a bigger reason than we're just not very good right now.
Yeah, which that's the stuff I want to talk about.
Well, we've got plenty of it. So what do you say we take a break and then get into that?
Yeah, let's do it. We'll come back. Lots to cover. So we'll come back. We'll do the Louisville recap. We'll do the Toronto recap. And then later on, we will preview San Jose and Houston. So big show. Hang on for the ride. When no one is around. Boom Tower Soccer is brought to you by our friends at FVF Law.
FVF is a different kind of personal injury law firm dedicated to community, transparency, and client education. And they have their own podcast called Summary Judgment. Check it out wherever you get your podcasts.
You can go to FVF.law to find out what makes FVF a different kind of injury law firm and why understanding your legal options can dramatically change the outcome of a case. Once again, that's FVF.law. Amplify Credit Union is a member-owned financial cooperative that served the needs of Central Texans for over 5 decades. As a credit union, Amplify has no shareholders or parent companies. That means more of your money stays in the community.
Amplify has been the home of fee-free banking since 2022. Their free checking accounts come with 0 overdraft fees or minimum balances. That means Amplify's fee-free checking accounts help you get more mileage from your everyday spending.
Amplify membership is open to any Texas resident. Learn to trust your bank again at Amplify Credit Union. To learn more and to register for free parking at the Esperanza branch on game day, visit www.goamplify.com/boomtower.
All right, Landon. Are we going to get into this Louisville City recap? And are we going to start calling them Louisville?
Oh, I think I've slid into that pronunciation.
It's a good one. It's a good one, and it's official, which means that we should probably use it.
Is there a sliding scale? Is this show? Are we show right now?
It's up to you.
Yeah, this is show. Okay. I feel like the Bayou City in Louisiana, there's like a spectrum of acceptable pronunciations.
There is for Louisville as well. There is an official graphic from the city that shows the way that you can say it. Louisville is absolutely at the bottom of that list.
So is it on the list or is it on the incorrect part
I think
of the
it's on
list?
the incorrect
Okay.
section of that list. So
yeah, so where I land on both of these is I kind of split the difference where I feel like saying it too far one way is like a weird form of cultural appropriation of using an accent that I don't have. And so I'll say New Orleans.
Mm-hmm.
It's not New Orleans. It's not Nolans. It's New Orleans. I'll go right. I'll split the uprights there, and then Louisville. So there's there is 3 syllables, but it's not an E. Do you think that's acceptable?
We'll have to find out. Capricia will definitely let us know. So Capricia, if you're listening,
we always cover the important things when you're on the show, Mike.
Listen, what are we going to talk about? Do you really want? You know what? We're getting into this game. Fine. So the pregame narratives for this game, the fan vibes were pretty split. Either we're going to crush this team that Minnesota United beat with 3rd stringers last year, or we're doomed. They're the best team in USL. And then the lineup comes out, and we're missing Ilie, we're missing Irvin Torres, we're missing Jean Gallagher, and we're missing Christian Ramirez, all not in the 18. But we get some good news because Danny's back and starting. So tell us about the lineup.
So going back to those guys who are missing, Ilie had the back injury the weekend before, so that one made sense. Irvin Torres, we had seen that you and I went to the second team game and he wasn't there. And so we were like, oh, he's going to go with the first team. We found out later he's sick and didn't play with either team. So he wasn't an option. John Gallagher, we'll get into this with Brendan Hines-Ike in the Toronto match, but John Gallagher had played, I think, every available minute up until this point. And so give the man a rest. And then Christian Ramirez has played more than maybe he was expected to leading into these games and is 34 years old. And so I think that was probably the reason there. So I don't have a ton of issues with any of that. We get this lineup. It's one that's like a little, I think I know what it's going to look like whenever the starting 11 graphic comes out, but I'm not sure. We end up getting a back three with John Bell, Heinzike, Djordjevic. Also, Mike, your scoop was correct in
That's
that Damian
right.
Loss was getting the start after the wry smile he gave you when you confronted him at the Esposito game.
Confront is so violent. I just asked. I was just curious. Hey, man, we going to see you on Tuesday? Yes, was the answer.
And then we get Duber and Pereira in the midfield, Beer and Dessler as wingbacks, Nelson, Uzuni, Torres. Yeah, okay. Mike gave me an eyeball. We can talk about what this actual formation looked like, but I think like the FOTMob graphic, SofaScore graphic was a 3-4-3. I think that's a fair.
Yeah.
It's all
best.
fluid. The numbers are there to help you make the best sense of a fluid formation you can. I think a 3-4-3 is probably the most accurate thing you could give it.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think there's some of this I took some qualms with a little bit where it was a 3-4-3, but it was kind of a, I don't know. Our center backs were spread super wide. Mateja Djordjevic, aka Hot Dog, was pushing very high, almost playing like a fullback
right
position, like in the build-up, like playing very wide, very high. And at times, Dessler would drop in underneath him. And so he would be higher than Dessler at times. And then as we pushed past like that part of the field, Dessler would push up really high and almost like be like an attacking wingback. In theory, I don't have too many complaints about this concept, except for the fact that we've never done it before.
Yeah.
And it kind of looked that way, especially with Djordjevic. I thought he looked lost for a lot of this game.
Yeah, he certainly did not seem to be put in a position to succeed with this game plan. While I agree that probably a 3-4-3 is the best way to describe it, I would like question who that right-sided player in the attacking three was supposed to be. If it's supposed to be Facundo Torres or if it's supposed to be Mikel Dessler, and like Facu is playing more in that like traditional 10 at the front of almost like a lopsided diamond. Like it was very a strange structure.
I think the plan, we can get through all of the tactical stuff before we get into the game events because we're already here. So I think the idea was for Dessler to be the one providing width on that side, where we've seen Facu like start wide right, but then he has the freedom to float central and kind of act as the playmaker there. So I think that was the idea. What ended up happening a lot of times was we couldn't progress the ball that far to even get into that shape, right? Like you have your build-up shape, your progression shape, and then that like finishing shape. We just didn't get there very often in the first half. And so who knows what was supposed to be happening. And then as the game progressed and we're losing and pushing to score, we make subs and like there's always going to be some confusion and like what they call the tactics free zone, where it's like, okay, all the tactics are out the window. Just go score a goal, like as many numbers forward as you can. But when we were doing that, we still had nobody wide.
Yeah.
Jean Coleman would receive the ball like around midfield as we were trying to build it up. And you at least want someone wide to like keep the defense honest. Like he can play the ball up the line. If you look there's like 6 guys standing in the box, nobody wide. Jean Coleman can't put a cross in standing facing his own goal from midfield. That's going to be dangerous there. Like it was whatever the plan was, it didn't work. And then as the plan progressed, it only got worse. It just fell apart. And we had no plan at certain points in the game.
Yeah, the fact that we entered the tactics free zone at about minute 32 didn't seem to really set us up for success in this match.
Yeah. All right, let's get into the match events here. So Austin looked shaky from the start. It doesn't look great, but it's not disastrous yet. I still have hope that maybe they can grow into it. About 15 or 20 minutes in, Louisville City have Austin pinned in their own defensive box. And I don't know how many chances. I didn't count, but several really dangerous moments back to back to back to back. And that gets capped off with their first goal, where it's a corner kick that they earned off of one of these mini chances in a row. And Taylor Davila, who we talked about was their string puller, he plays in a really nice ball from the corner. Dubrsarski is marking their big center back, Toch. And then Hot Dog is kind of the zonal marker. We often do like a mix of zonal and man marking on corners. Hot Dog was the zonal marker in that zone. The ball comes in. He doesn't read it right, doesn't react well, starts to jump at the same time that Toch makes contact with him, and he just drops to the floor like a sack of potatoes while Toch makes contact with the ball. It's a good play from Toch, but I think this is a theme of the rest of the game. And then, like, at the risk of sounding like a guy I don't want to sound like, this is one of many moments where Louisville City wanted it more. Like that phrase talking about soccer or sports usually rubs me the wrong way. Like, I don't like that because it seems like a cop out for what actually happened. This is what happened for a lot of it is those guys were fighting for it every instance. And we'll get into some other examples of that as we go through the game, but like they were fighting for every ball, for every header, for every duel, and we weren't. And that's not the only reason this happened, but it is part of it.
Yeah, I always bristle at the idea of like, oh, he just wanted it more. It's like
watch that replay, man. Tell me he didn't.
it feels like a half a step away from just try harder. And it's so dismissive of like all of the effort and the like preparation and the work that it takes to be on the field in the first place, right?
Yes.
And so like I don't want listeners to come away with that like as the takeaway from this game. You know, there's so much more behind it. In addition to in that one-on-one battle, Toch jumped higher and like reacted faster than Hot Dog did.
Yeah, I think if it happens once, I guess my bigger point is that I think it gets overused.
Yeah,
but not that it's not true, and that it can't happen that one team wants it more. I think it's overused.
Sure.
But as you watch through the completion of this game, that plays out far too many times for it to, and like a lot of their chances were not like the ones they scored on, especially were not high percentage chances. They're like,
right
there, it was open cup. And so there wasn't published XG, but I would guess both of those goals are pretty low percentage chances. They had some other higher percentage chances that they didn't finish, but the fact that they got so many of them based on like focus and effort type plays, that's why I'm willing to actually use it in this game. But totally agree with what you're saying, that it's not a thing I use often, and we'll probably not use it that often going forward.
Yeah, I think this goal is the epitome of lump it in the box, see what happens. You know, and what happened this time sucked.
Yeah. The 28th minute, Dubrsarski gets a point blank reaction chance from a Hot Dog redirect off of a corner. Keeper saves it. And then the Louisville City second goal comes in the 32nd minute. This is Tola Shawunmi, the big striker. So Louisville's working the right side. There's a give and go up the side to Manny Perez. And Biro just doesn't track him with any kind of intensity. It's very obvious what they're about to do. Like, and it's not a surprise. This is what they do. Like, this is how they destroy USL teams over and over. And anybody watching at that moment, including Guilherme Biro, should know, like, oh, they're about to do this exact thing. And he just doesn't run very hard. And so they play this 1-2, get Perez in behind, whips in across, which again, it's what they do. And Brennan Heinzike is tracking that big striker, Shawunmi. As the Manny Perez cross arrives, it's a bit behind Heinzike, and I think he tries to check back his momentum to get a foot on the ball and to get a body on Shawunmi. But Shawunmi is a big dude, uses his strength just to kind of body him off, push past him, and just throws a foot at it. It's not a super intentional strike, but just throws a leg up and it deflects into the goal. And so again, not a high percentage chance, but they got into those situations quite often. And so in my mind, that's well earned, regardless of the individual XG. If you add those babies up, you're going to get one eventually, and they did.
Yeah. This goal to me, when you mentioned Biro's like tracking without intensity, I know like Biro does a lot of things that leave your head scratching, but usually effort is not one of them, right? Like on defense, sometimes he's a little like, why is he doing that? But like he's doing something. And so this combined with my algorithm feeding me a lot of this stuff lately reminds me of a video that I saw recently around a hockey team whose high performance like athletic training coach was saying that one of the things they noticed in a 2-game week was that like players were coming out in that second game way lower energy in the first like period. And a lot of that was due to the fact that they weren't ramping up in warm-ups high enough. And so, like, is this a situation in the time? It's 32 minutes into the game. It's kind of the same, like, when you're planning a full match. Like, is this a situation where we can look at that previous narrative of, like, is this a training problem, right? We're giving up goals late. We're giving up goals in these weird matches where we're not used to playing kind of at that cadence. Is this a situation for that?
To me, I think I still will lump that into the mentality bucket, where the games you have are the games you have. There's a lot of games. A lot of these guys have played a lot of minutes. They're going to be tired.
Yeah.
And I think those are the games where the mentality has to drag you through some of it. And so, okay, yeah, Biro's tired. He's played a lot of minutes. You have to make that run. You just have to. And he didn't do it. And like, everything's a little bit of everything. So if you want to say like this is a thing you work on in training or prepare them for in training, sure. But to me, it all ties back to that mentality part. And who's responsible for that? Again, lots of people, but including Guilherme Biro. He needs to know that, like, just because this guy plays in a lower division than you doesn't mean he can't run onto a through ball. Like, he can, and he just did.
Yeah. But we get our own Charlie Hustle play here in the 70th minute, right? With this with the CJ goal.
Yeah, CJ Fodre. I think he hadn't been on the field for very long, right?
No.
I didn't put subs in, but we get a free kick wide to the right side. Rosales takes an in-swinger with his left foot. Good like nothing fancy, but good service. CJ just out jumps the defenders, gets really good contact, and beats the keeper there. That's 70th minute. And then, like,
the next 20 minutes feel like it's just waiting for it to happen until it all falls apart again. There's a window where it's like, well, of course we're going to score another. Austin is pushing super hard. We get a whole bunch of chances into the box. They're not like planned chances, right? They're balls that are sailing in aimlessly. It's not tactically sound, but it is certainly a lot.
And this part of the game felt to me like a larger narrative that I felt during the game, and then I've seen other people expressing similar sentiments, is that if it weren't for the jerseys and like maybe the more recent haircuts and stuff, you would have guessed Louisville City was the MLS team in this game.
The composure.
This was not a scrappy smash and grab game. Like, they deserved the win. They were the better team for most of that game. And even in this moment, so Austin FC's down. You'll see this in Open Cup games, or like any underdog moment where, okay, yeah, they're pushing because they need to. Their desperation throwing numbers forward. A lot of defenses have trouble with that, but they were still not creating really high value chances ever. There were not many of those, even in this moment where we did keep the ball and had it into their box. I think we ended the whole game with 3 shots on target. Am I remembering that correctly?
2 of them after, or that CJ goal, and then the last shot on target. 2 of them within that 70th minute plus.
Yeah. So
just really poor execution.
Yeah, so I think that tells the story there. One team showed up, was focused, was fighting, had a clear game plan, and the other team was Austin FC, and that's what it looked like on the night.
Yep. Landon, do you have any other player notes that you want to discuss?
I mean, I think it would be. We didn't talk about Danny Pereira. Danny goes down in like 8th or 9th minute, something like that.
Yep.
Re-injures the hamstring.
Depends on who you ask. Nico says it's not a re-injury in the post-game presser.
Okay, well, he injured something and had to come out, which kind of, I think we would have been better in the game.
Mm-hmm.
If he had been on the field longer, that would have helped with Louisville is pressing us. Like I talked last week about, would they show respect to the MLS team and sit deep and try to change their game, or would they just bring it to us? And they changed nothing. This is how they play against USL teams, and it worked.
Yep.
And Danny Pereira is so good at the ball retention, progression of the ball, that as they're pressing us and we're struggling to get through, he would have absolutely helped. Am I saying that would have fixed everything? No, but him going down definitely hurt us in this one, especially when you're putting Besar Savovic on the field after that happens. So, but as far as like individual performances, I think Djordjevic had a rough night. He was maybe set up to fail a little bit with the weird structure that we had and him playing in maybe a role he wasn't quite used to, but he also, there was moments when that didn't seem to be coming into play and he just looked kind of shell-shocked the whole game. So other than that, I think it would be like, I don't know, I would feel like rude to single out anybody because nobody looked great, really.
Yep, I would agree with that. I think everybody had moments, plus and minus. Yeah. I had a thing I liked, and that was that Damian Loss got a game, and he didn't Steph Cleveland himself, which fantastic for us to have a backup keeper that, like, for all intents and purposes, had a respectable game.
Came up with a couple of really big saves. There's one that I can't remember the situation, but he was diving to his open left side and ends up making a foot save with his trailing leg. That was really nice. A ball gets slipped through and he comes off his line really aggressively and blocks a shot there. So had some really good stuff. I did see some folks asking the question on the first goal, that header, if Brad Stuver's in the game in that moment, does he save it?
Yeah.
I watched it back. I don't think it's a huge blunder by Damien, but I think asking whether Brad would have saved it is maybe a fair question on the replay there. Damien is giving a little bit of a hop, like to prepare, and his feet, to me, don't seem like they're quite on the ground as Toch makes contact with it. And so that little bit of extra reaction time plus the extra reach that Stuver gives you, maybe he gets a hand on that one and can push it over. But again, that's marginal
pick
stuff.
And nits. Right, exactly.
And it's not, overall, I think Damien had a decent game.
Yeah. I think we see the reason that Damien isn't starting in MLS right now, right? His distribution needs work. His timing, like you just called out, is something that needs improving. But for a backup keeper, like, we could do a lot worse than a kid with a ton of potential. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. What about you? Was there anything you liked in this game?
Not really, man.
All right. What didn't you like?
Almost everything. I mean, I think the thing I disliked the most was like how accepting I was of this.
Yeah. How I started laughing when the second goal went in, and I was like, we're going to lose to Louisville City. This is crazy.
Yeah. I came into the game, you're talking about like kind of the split reactions of people who thought we were going to win, people who thought we were going to lose, whatever. After doing my scouting on them, I was like, it's a good team. We can't take it lightly, but there's some obvious like holes there that we could take advantage of.
Yeah.
And so I was like, we can win, we should win, but I'm not going to be surprised if we don't. And I kind of hate that that's true.
Yeah. What did we learn?
I think we've already kind of talked about it, but I just wrote, did we learn that this team is mentally soft?
I mean, if you've been listening to Will Bruin, you've known that's always been true.
Yeah. I think we watched both of these games, just me and Ashley at home. We didn't go out and watch it anywhere, but she was asking, like, would having like Ilie or like having Brad on the field have changed any of this, like the leadership or whatever? And it's like, yeah, maybe. Like Brad, I don't know, like a goalkeeper, how much, like there would be like talks preparing for the game, talks at halftime, whatever. But Brad was there. He could have done all that stuff still. But on the field, like setting a tone, I think you need an outfield player to do that kind of stuff.
I think
Whereas,
if your
like,
problem is attacking, yes. I think Brad sets that defense so much stronger and like gives that defense so much more security that behind them is like one of the best in the league, that I think like mentally a guy like a Hot Dog maybe has a much better game if he knows that he's got somebody who has his back the way that Brad does with his defense.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. I think my point was that, like, a lot of this stuff, like this mentality building, isn't happening during this 90 minutes.
No.
And so whether Brad or Ilie is on the field right now, would it affect the game? Probably yes. Like, to whatever degree, I don't know. But most of the mentality building, the leadership, the example setting does not happen there on the field. It will happen in between these matches.
Yep.
And I think taking those guys off the field, not having someone to set the example during the 90, sure. But there's more to it than just that. And I think that was very evident in both of these games, where just certain moments, like, guys need to give a little bit extra and aren't doing it, or need to be a bit more organized or a bit more sharp or a bit more focused or whatever it is. And I think there's enough of the guys on the team who show that they don't have that, and they're not going to bring that to the team, that whenever we don't have the guys who do have it on the field, that it changes the game.
Yeah. Danny Pereira gave a great interview at the start of the season to the North End podcast, where he talked about the type of team they want to be. We won't share that on Moon Tower because of the language around it, but yeah. I don't think we are seeing necessarily the embodiment of that goal that Danny stated was part of their preseason work.
Not as a collective, anyway.
Right.
I think you see it in individuals, but not as a collective for sure.
Yep. All right. I need a palate cleanser before we talk about Toronto. Can we do an ad read?
Yes, please.
Let's go. Moon Tower Soccer is brought to you by Sage Wilson Realty. Are you looking to score your next home while rates are back to their lowest levels since 2022? Don't get caught offside in this market.
The right strategy can turn today's opportunity into your winning goal. If you're looking for Sage real estate advice in Austin, contact our friends at Sage Wilson Realty. Be sure to check them out online at sagewilson.com.
Okay, I feel so much better now.
All right, let's get into the Toronto game. Well, we still have a lot to do, Mike. Okay.
I know.
We'll do Toronto. We'll do the 2 match previews. Well, let's get to Toronto here. So, pregame narratives. Yeah, what were we? It wasn't a lot of time to think about it, but what were the narratives leading into this one?
For this one, we were looking at how's the team going to respond to the Open Cup crash out and a home loss against a team that hadn't won on the road in 18 months. They got to come back and win this one, right? And then can we hold off on giving up late goals? Can we capitalize on Toronto's penchant for giving up late goals?
Yes and yes.
Danny's not injured, according to Coach Nico, but also isn't in the 20.
Yeah. Was there any more shared on that, or is that?
According to Coach Nico, Danny was not injured, but he had broken the scar tissue from his hamstring tear, which sounds like it hurts, and it clearly hurt enough to keep him out of the game. Are we quibbling about the meaning of injured? Is that what we are deciding to do now?
It seems that way. In any case, unavailable.
Yeah.
And then I wrote about this lineup. Oops, all fullbacks. We had 5 players that can and have played fullback. 4 of them have played most of their career at fullback or wingback. And then John Bell has played most of the minutes for Austin FC as a fullback. So Joseph Rosales, again, this is another one where the 11 comes out and I'm like, I think I know what's going to happen, but I would not put money on it. This is what I guessed it was going to be, but I did not know for sure that this is what it was going to be. But we ended up getting a back line of Biro, John Bell, Svatok, Dessler, and a back 4. Heinz Eich left off of this roster, and I saw some questions about this. I don't think we got confirmation on this, but my guess is we were talking about Gallagher being left off the Open Cup roster because he had played, I think, every available minute. Heinz Eich in the same situation where I think they're just saying, it's your turn. Like, you have not come out of a game. You need to rest at some point. This is your time.
Yeah, that was confirmed in the post-match by Nico.
Okay.
Moises from Verde All Day had asked that question.
Okay, cool. Thank you for confirming that. And then we get Rosales and Dubrsarski in the midfield as the holding midfielders. Nelson on the left, Gallagher on the right as a winger, and then Torres and Uzuni up front. We were defending in the 4-4-2 shape, which is not uncommon. And then as far as the attacking shape, I think you could say 4-4-2. I think you could also call it like a 4-2-3-1 with Torres kind of floating a bit freer, playing as a 10, and Uzuni. But Uzuni was also playing pretty free, so 4-4-2, 4-2-3-1, whatever. But both of those guys were moving around quite a bit and kind of had freedom to move into different spaces. So this one, again, a kind of a scary start. Toronto gets 2 chances in the first 2 minutes. And then at minute 9, Dubrsarski is given a red card. It is then looked at by VAR and taken back. So what happened is, we'll see this a lot, like talking about Danny Pereira saying they want to be an MFer team. We've seen this quite a bit, and I talked about it in what game was it where our guys were like going after dudes and pushing them. Peck and Klaus, where anytime Peck got the ball and he passed it, there's a shove, there's an extra little oomph given
something
into
left
the contact. Dubrsarski's trying to do this on Raheem Edwards here, except he starts to run away and then decides to go back and give the push. And it's like, okay, once you kind of missed your window there, the window's closed, you can't go back and do it. That said, he kind of gives him a little forearm shiver. It's wet, it's raining. I think his arm slides up a little bit, maybe onto the neck, but it's not a hard push. Edwards goes down. Fisher is kind of at a weird angle, the ref, and gives the straight red. Goes back and looks at it, comes back and gives the yellow. I think this is a fair thing. I talk about spirit of the game quite a bit. I think this is, regardless of what the rules actually say, I think this is within the spirit of the game to say, like, hey, that was stupid, but don't ruin the game for it.
Yeah.
And I think Fisher made a couple of choices throughout the game that I think fit within that narrative, where Raheem Edwards got a yellow card and was like a little bit borderline, not sure if he deserved it or not. And then another moment not long after where he probably absolutely deserved a yellow there, but Fisher was like, okay, the first one was not quite there, so I'm going to let this one slide. I don't know if this is a popular opinion. I am fine with that. I like a game being ref that way.
I get it. And like we talked about on the episode of Swoon Tower where I talked about the Tottenham reffing problem, we need every chance we can get, Landon. We're not good enough to win these games on our own right now. So what if they helped us out?
Get good. That's what I say. So Austin kind of struggles through trying to play through the press. Like, Toronto's putting quite a bit of pressure in our buildup. We're struggling to get through for the first 20 minutes, but finally start finding Rosales and Dubrsarski in the midfield as they're like play to the side, play back, have a midfielder drop in, and we're able to start opening up some cracks and get through about 20 minutes in. And that leads to this first goal in the 29th minute. We'll get back to like what led up to this here in a second, but it's a long throw. Gallagher takes it. Biro and Svatak are both attacking the ball, trying to get like that flick on, like they're on the near side and they're trying to flick it into the scrum to get that second chance. I think they run into each other and both stop each other from getting clean contact on it. And so the ball just kind of slips to the ground into the scrum. John Bell's standing there and he just reacts faster than anybody else and turns 180 and just whips a blind shot at goal. It ricochets off of a defender and sends the keeper Gavrin the wrong way and it goes in. And so, a good reaction play. I think so. That's John Bell's second goal. I think his first goal went off a defender as well.
Listen, is it in the back of the net, Landon?
They don't ask how, they ask how many.
That's right. And as we learn, this is repeatable in this game.
Yeah, set pieces is repeatable.
Set pieces and balls deflecting off the opponents. Two things that can lead to scoring goals.
So the way we got this long throw was off of a pattern that will kind of play into some other key parts of the game. And so it was our left winger. So it was Nelson. And then later on, it was Robert Taylor. As we're building up, they would be like wide on the line, coming back towards the ball, and they would receive and then immediately look up and try to play a diagonal either to the center of the field or to a runner on the far side. And so on this time, Nelson hits Gallagher running on the backside. He brings down the ball in the box, can't stop it bouncing quick enough to get a good shot off, but he ends up getting touches on the ball in the box from this little sequence of play. And unable to settle this one, but it looks good. And this little sequence kind of comes up later on in the game. So we'll come back to that here in a bit. Austin gets another big chance in the 35th minute. Uzuni ends up with the ball at his feet with the keeper out of the net, turns, gets a shot off, it gets saved. It deflects into Nelson's path, and he hits the ball well over the bar. So I think Nelson could have and should have done better on that one. I think he got a little antsy and just overcooked it and didn't let the ball fall far enough before he struck it. What about Uzuni? How hard are we judging him here?
I mean, it's hard because like it feels just insurmountable evidence that Granada witches are still continuing their curse. Like, man, it's crazy, right? Like this is kind of like that other conversation again, that like we get so few chances and the few that we do get end up like this. Like, I need the boring but correct opinion on this goal or non-goal, because like mine is absolutely this is further evidence of a curse. We are cursed.
I think most people's take is this is further evidence that Uzuni is trash and we should get rid of him ASAP.
I don't want a cursed player either. I don't care if he's good or cursed. Like, either way,
my take is a little bit that like, okay, he receives in a difficult position where like he's facing away from goal. He needs to turn, at least get a touch past the keeper because of where the keeper is, and then get the shot off. The way he does it is a little too slow for it to be effective. I think I'm a little bit conditioned to say like, okay, well, that's not Uzuni's skill set. Like that quick control, touches, turn, get a shot off. He's not that good at it, so I'm not surprised he didn't do it. But for a DP who costs as much as he did, maybe he should be better at that kind of thing.
He should at least be good enough to score off this goalkeeper. Like, Gavran is not very good.
Yeah.
He's young, and so like he could get better, but he's not like, it's not like he's going up against Sean John in his prime, right? Like, this is a very different Toronto backline and a very different Toronto goalkeeper than they've had in the past.
Yeah. So that's the main chances for the first half. I think Toronto has some other ones that some of them we do well, some of them we come up a little bit lucky, and we'll get into some of those a bit later. But Toronto ties it up in the 52nd minute. This is a Daniel Shallowy goal. This one kind of comes from nowhere. Watching this game live, I was very annoyed at how this goal happened. I've softened on it a little bit after the rewatch. So there's a bouncing ball. It's kind of like back and forth, just kind of nothing balls. And so there's a hopeful ball played forward. It kind of trickles through to Gavron, but somebody's pressuring him. So he clears it long. It lands on Bell's head. He heads it back upfield. It falls to Coelho, their player, who first time's a pass wide to Etienne, and he springs a counter. I kind of thought maybe we should have been better position, or maybe like there was like a hustle play that could have been made here. But on the rewatch, I'm like, it's a good reaction. It's a good pass. And they caught us out in a moment where it was just in the flow of play. I don't know that anybody made a huge mistake there. And so anyway, he springs the counter, plays Cifuentes through as Biro's kind of having to mark both of them. Cifuentes plays in a low squared cross that isn't super dangerous on its own. We had a lot of the options fairly well covered. Biro extends a leg and the ball deflects off of Biro's leg. So Dessler is marking Shallowy on the backside and even like tracks his like the second leg of his run as he tries to make a move. But as the ball is played, Dessler checks his run to say like, okay, the ball's coming behind me. I'm going to turn and face and also hold up. So Shallowy runs beyond me and is offside if anything happens. What that didn't calculate was, the ball's played and now it's deflected. And then the deflection falls right into Shallowy's path and he punches it in. So I thought this was worse than it was on the first watch. And I think the defending still could have probably been better in a few spots, but it's a little bit just unfortunate on Austin's side, and the deflections, falling right into Shallowy's path. Like they just got a little bit lucky on part of it there.
Yeah, feels bad, but yeah, I think ultimately you're right. Like, because basically, if you're Dessler, you're making two choices, right? Either I follow this run and keep him like played onside, and then I'm all alone, or he should be off if anything happens.
And so I think Dessler, until the ball strikes Biro's leg, I think he made the right choice, but he didn't know that was going to happen. So and
like you want to get a foot out and try and deflect the ball because like interrupting what they're trying to do is good. So yeah.
Gallagher gets a chance from a Taylor cross that comes in, and maybe he could have done a bit better, but the angle is pretty tough there. Toronto goes ahead in the 67th minute. This is Richie Larea with this one. So Larea started the game at center back because they have quite a few injuries. The second half, they make some subs and bring in another center back, and they move him wide where his career is as like an attacking fullback, overlapping, getting into the attacking half. And so as they make those subs and they're trying to catch up to us in this game, that's what he starts doing. Toronto plays through Austin really easily with just short combination passing. It was far too easy.
Yeah.
And gets Shallowy 1v1 with Dessler on the far side. Dessler had a strong defensive game. I think he was maybe left out to dry on the offensive side and didn't quite have options to play through. And so I don't think his offensive game was super strong. Defensively, I thought he did quite well. And so he has Shallowy 1v1 and blocks the initial chance at the cross. It bounces back towards Larea, falls straight to his feet. He takes one quick touch to kind of get just wide enough of Swatok to be able to get a shot off and just absolutely roofs it. Like the finish is untouchable. Like once he shoots that shot from there, there's nothing anybody can do about it.
It's so ridiculous and it's so well placed. Like it's one of those where if it goes wrong, it's a like all-time blooper. When it goes right, it's like, well, yeah, of course, like unstoppable. Obviously, why don't they build the plane out of top bins? Like,
yeah, and we're talking about kind of the fortune/misfortune. I don't want to give the impression that that's why Austin lost. There were a lot of other moments.
Well, we drew, so
yeah. Sorry. I saw the Austin FC Ireland account on Blue Sky post something to the effect of, well, that was a draw that felt like a loss that felt like a win, or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. It really, I think this is a litmus test for like your vibes on the year so far, is looking at this match, right? Because like you have a note here for this goal that says Rosales ? And
yeah,
like,
that was mostly a note for myself here, because I wanted to watch back on some other moments to say, like, was this a theme or was it just here? And I think so. Rosales in the midfield. This is a thing I kind of floated. Like, he's played there before. He has skill sets that I think make sense, where like his strength on the ball, his ability to kind of turn past guys, play passes forward, and then the defensive work rate as well. Like he can do that kind of stuff in that position as well. I think there was a few moments, and especially on this play, where he's a little bit chasing shadows here, where, yeah, he's running towards the ball. He's moving what looks like maybe the right spot, but he's not thinking like the step ahead. Where Ilie is so good at that, right? Like, he doesn't have the legs anymore, but he knows where he's supposed to be and will think of like, okay, what's going to happen after this? I'm going to go there. And Rosales did not do that on this play.
so
And I think like he's playing in a spot he doesn't play a lot, so give him a little bit of grace there. But he's not like, as far as ball progression goes, he's not that much better than Dubrsarski in that regard.
Yeah.
As far as playing passes and stuff. And then, yeah, athletically he can cover the ground, but it seemed like maybe he either wasn't quite sure what he was supposed to be doing defensively as far as positioning goes, or just like not used to it and didn't have that instinct to do it because he hasn't played there a lot. But I think he could have done a lot better in the build up into this goal, and then also tracking Larea into the box to not let him receive that ball anyway.
I definitely think the buildup wasn't great, but the in the box defending to me read like a guy who said, "Oh, Dessler has cut off this passing angle, so he's going to try and cycle it back. I'm going to steal this, and we're going to start a counter." And so he starts to shade that way, but not give away that that's his plan. And then it just so happens that Dessler had cut off the angle, but the deflection gave Richie the ball instead of sending it out of bounds. Because you see him like start to follow Larea and then like cut out to try to cut out that like kind of recycling pass. And so how much of that is because Austin FC loves to recycle possession when they've got it down in the corner and can't come up with an idea to get it into the box? I don't know, right? Because likely the way that you play and the way that you see the game is informed by the patterns that you are playing against in practice. Yeah. And so if that's a pattern you're seeing, you're going to take that chance.
I think on marking Larea, that very well could be true. But in leading up to that, yes. I think it was like watching the ball. It's like, okay, I'm going to run to where the ball is. Oh, the guy is behind me now.
Different. Yeah.
I'll run to where that guy is. Oh, they played behind me again. And it was just like 4 passes in a row where we were just following a step too late for what Toronto was doing.
Yeah.
So we get another tying goal here in the 78th minute. This is Facu Torres. So that passing pattern I mentioned before, this is kind of the same buildup here where Taylor's in the game at this point. He drops back up that line and they play the ball to his feet and he hits it first time up the middle towards Uzuni, where Toronto's putting quite a bit of pressure on. So there's that gap in the midfield and he just drops it over the top to Uzuni. Uzuni takes one touch and puts it around the defender to Torres. He cuts it back, plays wide to Uzuni again, and then Torres continues his run into the box. Taylor, from deep, had continued his run and is arriving in the box. Uzuni reads that, plays a ball to the backside. Really good pass from Uzuni here. Falls to Taylor, and then he just like gently lays it back across into the box with the outside of his boot into the path of Torres, and Torres passes it into the goal. Really, really nice team goal here. I think there's really good movement from from everyone involved, really, including Christian Ramirez, who he kind of drags the defender wide as he's making a back post run and kind of opens up some space for Facu to run into. And then really good vision and movement and creativity from Uzuni and Taylor here. So, and this is Facu Torres' first goal in MLS goal in Verde. So congratulations there. Really good team goal, but still, we did not see enough of this for me to be like, we're back, baby. I was like, okay, well done. Like, kudos to all of you. Do that 5 times in a game and I'll feel better about it.
Yeah, and you don't have to score in all 5, but like if you have that pattern of play and it like something happens,
right?
At least then it's a pattern that we're seeing.
We get another go-ahead, Christian Ramirez in the 82nd minute. This one's just a really good reaction goal from Ramirez. The ball comes in from Torres. I'm genuinely unsure what Torres was trying to do with this ball. He plays a really low ball to Ramirez's feet, but he hits it so hard that I don't think he could have expected Ramirez to control it or even get like a clean first-time shot. So I kind of think he was trying to lift it to the far side to Uzuni because there was a gap in the back line where Uzuni was kind of moving to. So I think he mishits a pass to Uzuni. Anyway, it goes straight to Ramirez's feet, but fizzes in so hard that it just bounces off of Ramirez, then bounces off of a defender, and then falls right into Ramirez's path again. And he's like a really like calm and collected finish, lets the keeper dive and pick a side and then just slots it in. So good finish from Ramirez there, but I don't know how it got there.
Just like we drew it up, Landon. Kick it as hard as you can against the outside of the boot, against the defender and in the goal. This is the Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, McDonald's horse commercials from when I was a child. I may have just aged like half our listenership out with that reference, but here we are.
That's on YouTube. Youngsters, go look it up. It's good.
But yeah, this to me, I think you're absolutely right that like this is not what Facu was trying, right? He was either trying to curl it in top ends and like miss hit it there, or trying to loop it over to Izuni and miss hit it there. But listen, when they're not falling, we'll take them.
Yeah, absolutely. So Austin's up, if only briefly. 88th minute, Toronto ties it up again. So Biro knocked heads with, was it Cifuentes that he knocked heads with? I think it was Cifuentes, but anyway, they both have to come off the field. And so they're off the field receiving treatment. Toronto finds Shallowy on the left, gets a cross away, maybe a little bit too easily. Gallagher is tucked in narrow and Torres is running out to him. I've seen that kind of defensive responsibilities laid out where I wouldn't be surprised if that was he was supposed to do, but Gallagher was probably a bit more positioned to go out and challenge that cross. But anyway, he gets the cross in. The cross finds Malik Henry in the box and Rosales doesn't get there quick enough to challenge it. And I'm going to do a thing that I don't do all that often and criticize Brad Stuver on this goal. I think he could have done better here.
I think that's fair.
Henry's header is going towards the post and ends up hitting the post. I think Stuver thinks it's going wide, and so he pulls up and doesn't lay out for it. And I think he absolutely could. Like, he could have gotten to that ball if he wanted to, right?
I mean, I think his angle, he was a little deep in goal. And so, like, when I watched the replay, it seemed like he was surprised the post came at him as quick as it did. But, like, either way, right, it's either, like, awareness of where you are in the goal mouth or, like, where the ball is within relation to you. Either way, he probably should have gotten to this ball on the first shot in from Henry. And then, like,
and just punch it wide. He probably couldn't have caught it, but I think he can get a finger on it and push it wide, no problem.
Yeah. But I don't know. I also think if Gallagher goes out to cover that wide cross, you leave a gigantic hole for Richie Luray to run into again.
Yeah.
Ultimately, wasn't mad about Gallagher dropping back to cover against the thing we had already seen.
Yeah, I genuinely think that's probably what he was supposed to do. Whether that's a good idea or not. I think that's probably what he's supposed to do in that moment. But yeah, the ball hits the post, falls to Franklin on the backside, and he 5-holes Stuver. This is another. So Uzuni is with Franklin there, and I think you're talking about Rosales reading. Okay, he's gonna play back, and I'm gonna try to get this other one. Uzuni's with him, and he pulls up, and I don't think it's because he's being lazy. I think he thinks the ball's gonna go wide, and I'm gonna go collect it.
Yeah,
and it didn't hit the post very hard, and so it falls to Franklin. Stuver's shocked and doesn't really have a great time to react, and so he steps out, which maybe he could have stood his ground and tried to save, but the guy's unmarked. And so often, like, the rule of thumb is like, if there's someone unmarked, get as close to them as possible and try to let the shot hit you. But he ends up going between his legs and into the goal. So I don't know, like, a little of misfortune here. I don't want that to be the theme here, though, because there's so many other chances where Toronto could have scored.
Or we could have, like, not that we could have scored, but that we should have had better ideas to create scoring opportunities.
Yeah, where we gave up enough. Like, they had some good creative moments, but also we just gave up moments. Like, giveaways or mistakes or misreading something defensively where we let them have opportunities and they did not capitalize on all of them.
Yep.
And so...
I mean, the game ends. What's the added time on this? It was 10 minutes of added time, right?
Yeah.
And so there were another 12 minutes after this goal, and Austin, like, lazily recycles play a bunch and, like, isn't doing, like, anything of note within the last few minutes of this match to, like, try and take home a win.
Yeah, let's get into things we liked and things we didn't like. I put that in the things we didn't like, where I understand in certain moments, like, we as fans want them to push forward and like be bold, be brave. That there's certain instances where I might feel that way, and it's not actually the right thing to do in the moment. That sometimes the right thing to do is, oh, this is really risky. If I lose the ball here, we're screwed. So I have to play it back to Stuver. When there's 10 seconds left, that is not the moment.
Right.
Where I don't remember who had it, Savovich or somebody, as the clock is ticking down to, like, we're past the 10 minutes and you know that it's like any second now the game's going to be over. And there's a back pass to Gallagher.
And then the game's over.
And he does this thing that, like, bothers me so much, where a back pass is played to Gallagher and he will let the ball continue moving backwards.
Yeah.
Like, put your foot on it and claim that ground. Like,
but also, like, Savovich receives the ball, like, dead middle of the park in the, like, right on the border of the attacking third.
Right. And plays it backwards to Gallagher.
Stands on it until someone comes to him and then turns around and plays it back. So it's not even like he's just playing it back. He waits for the gap to open to create a passing lane and doesn't take advantage of the passing lane. And it's like, why even bother standing on it then? Just get it to someone who will go do something with it.
Yeah. And we sound like Tottenham fans right now, but this has happened in a lot of games, right?
I was going to say, it's one thing.
Late, and
it's one thing.
Like...
Yeah, it's one thing if, like, the player that we're talking about doesn't do it every single time he's on the ball. It's another thing when it becomes a pattern of, like, this is just who they are as a player.
And I don't want to pick on these players either. I feel like other players have done it. It's like a team thing where there's only a few seconds left and we're either down or tied. Like, don't just lump a ball forward. Like, I understand it might not work and it probably won't work, but you know what absolutely won't work is just standing on the ball at midfield until they blow the whistle.
Yeah. Yep. Wild. Just bananas.
Other things I liked. Josh Sargent had a really weird game.
Dude.
I thought his like target play and hold up play was really good. He created some good chances with just like bouncing balls off of him and like springing other guys. But then he gets a clear chance to hit a header in the box and tries to play it with his chest for some reason.
Yeah.
Another time where it's not an easy finish, but he's got goal face open and it like he's going to make Stuver's going to have to make a special save if he hits it anywhere decent and doesn't. it's a weird game where he did so many things so well and was like, oh, this guy's really good. And then in those moments where it mattered a lot, it was a very 2025 Brandon Vasquez performance where
Yeah.
I was like, I think he was the best player on the field and also severely underperformed.
I was about to ask how many games we have to go before we start looking into like how many witches are in Norwich City. Because like he's at 5 games now, 1 goal, 1 assist.
It's got witch in the name, Mike.
So I'm just saying, like we may have a new curse watch on our hands. It's nice that it's not ours.
I liked that Robert Taylor looked really good.
Yeah.
And then
he's so good at doing this. This
transitioning
exact
into
game.
things I didn't like is that he injured himself playing a pass. Did you see the moment where he got hurt?
No.
It was so that pattern where he's dropping back on the line and tries to play a first time ball. He hits it with so much torque that I'm surprised his like body didn't pull apart when he did it. But I don't know if he struck the ground, but it looked really awkward when he did it. And that's when he started limping. So nobody touched him. He just like hit the ball really weird.
He hit the ball too good. And now he has to pay the price. The monkey's paw curls.
Yeah. Other things we didn't like, we already talked about this, but some poor giveaways, some poor defendings, just kind of lack of focus or a lack of discipline in defending sometimes that led to them getting some dangerous moments. And then this is a new segment that I think I want to add is the weirdest thing Biro did in this game.
This is great because during Coachella Invitational, I told Joe Lowry that I would keep a running tally for him of weird Biro moments because of Nuhu, right? Like, I'm trying to draw this comparison. I'm trying to make Biro is our Nuhu happen.
Yeah.
And so, like, if you're doing the work for me, I can just clip these and send them to him. This is wonderful.
Yeah. So he came out before that last goal with the head-to-head contact. And they're getting sorted on the sideline. And as they're about to like let them go back on, he walks past Cifuentes, who is the other player who he bumped heads with. And they like shake hands to say like, hey, like no hard feelings. Like, sorry that happened to you. But then Biro, like Cifuentes turns away and is like talking to the trainer. And then Biro goes up and like touches the side of his head as if to like examine where they made contact.
Is it softer here now?
Yeah, he like touches his head and then instantly turns and walks away. Like, what are you doing? It's such a weird thing to do.
Yeah, like when he was hugging Gabrielle Peck at the end of the...
I loved that one.
Yeah.
That was so funny.
Yeah. Landon, what did we learn from this game? What did we learn to advance the season narrative to like accept where we're at as Austin FC fans?
I think we talked about a lot of this already, but like, as many positives as there were, I don't know that it's repeatable enough or like happening frequently enough for me to feel really energized by this game. But one thing it did give me a little hope in is that we talked about this a lot preseason where, okay, we don't have our number 10, like we don't have the primary chance creator, but if we can get enough secondary chance creators kind of buzzing around each other and doing that kind of stuff together, maybe that can make up for it a little bit. And I think we saw a little bit of that in this game where there's a 1-2 with Torres and Nelson that ends in Torres putting a shot on target. That goal, that like beautiful team goal with Taylor, Uzuni, Nelson wasn't, Torres all involved in that goal. That's the kind of stuff I'm like, okay, if we can get into a certain part of the field and let these guys get into decent positions, like some decent stuff might happen. Systematically, we have to be able to create those scenarios more often. But I did see something there. It was like, okay, there's a little bit of a little nugget of hope hidden there.
Yeah. I learned that it just takes a different mentality, I think, to be a professional soccer coach than I have. Because like in a fishbowl, you come out of this feeling pretty good. We got a draw on the road, and 1 point per game away, 3 points per game at home gets you into the playoffs. You are set. And like, you have to have that mentality about this match to like move on to the next one and not just pull all your hair out. And like, it is like at odds with what we've seen through the rest of the season, because we're not getting 3 points per game at home. We're not doing the job where we need to do it. And so we need to find other places to do the job. And this felt like a prime opportunity to do that job.
Yeah, absolutely. Draws on the road don't feel good anymore when you're not winning at home.
Yeah.
All right. We are going long. We still have 2 matches to preview. So let's dive into those real quick.
Yeah, because there's no news. The club hasn't posted anything since the 14th of April. That's crazy.
Let's talk about the San Jose game. We have another Los Verdes watch party to announce here. This is going to be at Radio East at 3504 Montopolis Drive. The match kicks off at 9:30, I believe. But before that, there's going to be an event with Icarus Cup, which is a big soccer tournament that this is a national thing, but Austin is one of the locations that they've seemed to set up and have done a few iterations of this. But they're doing the jersey draft. So there's all the teams who have entered into this. Icarus does these amazing like custom kit designs, and so the teams are going to like do a draft and pick which of these super cool jerseys they get to wear during the tournament. And so if you want to see that, it's like a fun little like weird soccer culture thing to get to see. And then the game will kick off. But yeah, the Radio East is a great little venue. Mike, you and I went and saw a concert there not long ago. But
yeah,
they can handle an event pretty well. So it's a nice place to watch a game.
Yeah, plenty of room, good food trucks, vibes are great. Even if the match might not be.
All right, let's get into the San Jose preview now. So they are flying high, sitting second in the West. I did this research before their game last night, so they're 7-1 now. I wrote 6-1 here. They had some pretty notable outgoing players. Joseph, why can't I think of his last name right now?
Because he goes by Joseph Martinez.
Joseph Martinez and I can't think of any of their names.
Chicho Arango
and Christian Espinosa. They're like high profile attacking three. They weren't very good last year.
No, sir.
They started showing some signs of improvement as the season went on, but still didn't end up super great. All those guys leave. They bring in Timo Werner. That's a pretty big signing. I'm sure, Mike, you have feelings about him as a Spurs fan, but we don't have to get into that right now.
I think he's a good player.
Is a bit of a dropout as far as like high level European standards are, but still a very high profile player that's probably going to do some good stuff in MLS. And I think we're seeing that already.
And he's being used in the way that every team should have been using him to begin with. He's really fast. He's really good on the out wide. He's really good at like distributing from out there. And like being able to kick the ball to a guy to finish is like something he's fantastic at.
Yeah. So he hasn't played a ton because I think it took him a bit to like work him in, and then he got injured and missed several games, but he's back and playing now. That hasn't really mattered. They haven't missed him because they have a lot of guys who are just already on the roster who just came good this year. Like they're stepping up bigger than they were, coming out of nowhere. And it's a lot of guys who played college soccer who were floating around and they found them, some homegrowns that they're using. And so the majority of not just this roster, they're starting 11 who they beat LAFC 4-1 last night in LA with, I think, like 9 Americans on the field or something like that. 7 of them played college. 2 of them are homegrowns.
Yeah, their entire back line is all super draft or like USL guys. Just crazy.
Yeah. So one of the big breakouts, Nico Sekiras, 20 years old. He's their number 10. Kind of the Owen Wolf path of homegrown turned U22 player. He has 2 goals and 4 assists, which is good, but I think he's been more influential than even those numbers show. He defends really well, is really pulling the strings for this team right now. Preston Judd has stepped in for all these high-profile guys at striker. I have written here he's the Paul Rothrock of strikers, meaning that like Is he technically talented? Sure. Like, he has technical ability, but not enough to make him as good as he is. It is a lot of high motor, aggressive mentality combined with the technical ability he has that makes him be able to be as good as he is this year. I think I put Rothrock in that same category where it's physicality and mentality that really puts the technical ability over that threshold. So he's been really good this year. You mentioned Muni and Roberts. Reed Roberts is a young guy who made some mistakes in the game against us last year, and I think maybe still does that occasionally, but is really coming into his own. And then Daniel Muni's been one of the best center backs in the league this year.
Yeah. Reed Roberts had a tough own goal against LAFC, but like, I mean, that's the only goal they gave up. And
yeah, he ran Denny Bouanga out the inline 5 other times before.
Right, I was gonna say LAFC still has Denny Bouanga and Heung-min Son, so
yeah.
All in all, I'll take one own goal as the only goal.
This guy hasn't played much, but I found out a fact. Maybe other Austin FC fans already know this, and I'm late to this party, but Jonathan Gonzalez. Do you remember the Jonathan Gonzalez saga with the dual national thing?
Yes.
Okay, when Jonathan Gonzalez was a young player, he was choosing between the U.S. and Mexico. He chose Mexico, played a year at Monterrey when they were quite good and started most games for them. I think he had some injuries, had some other stuff happen, and he kind of fell off and hasn't played super consistently and definitely not to the level that he did when he was young. But he is now playing for San Jose after a pretty long career in Mexico, and he hasn't played much yet. Only reason I added him here is his brother is Adrian Gonzalez that plays for Austin FC 2.
That's crazy.
Is that a known thing? Am I late to that party?
This.
Adrian Gonzalez has been on the team for 2 years, and I've never heard this said anywhere.
Yeah, that's nuts. I had no idea.
Anyway, that's neither here nor there. This matchup is usually crazy. There's almost always goals. San Jose have given up 3 goals this season, though. So this is not the same team that we're coming into.
This is a much more Bruce Arena team than, defensively anyway, than they have been in the past.
And so this next note here, Mike, says, Matt Doyle stole my take. So I was watching San Jose beat LAFC last night, and I had this thought, and then I turn on Soccer Wise before we start recording, and I hear Matt Doyle say, and you, Mike, you know I don't always like agreeing with Matt Doyle.
Yeah, it hurts a little bit for you.
But he said essentially the exact same thing I was thinking, which is, I'll go ahead and give my take here. Listeners, you can believe me or not, whatever. I know I'm right. But well, I was sitting there thinking just like this roster, like this 11 just makes so much sense as far as there's nothing complicated. The tactics aren't super complicated. And that's like Bruce Arena's style, right? Is like put players in positions to succeed, let them play soccer. This team has 2 hard-nosed center backs. They have 2 fullbacks that will run up and down the line. They have a hard-nosed 6. They have a box-to-box 8. They have a creative 10. They have 2 super fast wingers, and they have a hard-working striker. And it's just like, oh, if you just have 11 guys who are playing in the position where they like to play and are good at playing, they don't have to be the best players in the world. Because if you're building an 11 out of LAFC starting 11 and San Jose starting 11, you're picking mostly LAFC players still on a 1-to-1 talent basis. Yeah. You're picking LAFC players, but the way this San Jose team is put together, again, it's not complicated. They're not doing anything crazy. They're just putting guys in positions where it makes sense and letting them play soccer. And Nico Sekiris has been very, very good and has allowed that to work really well. But
he might be the only player that you take from San Jose.
Yeah, and I guess for this specific LAFC team, I probably would.
Like, I mean, if you're building a team for next year, you probably take Danielle as well. But like, other than that, I think every single other player would have come from that LAFC team, and they got washed, like absolutely roasted in this game.
Which I think as an Austin FC fan, this struck me hard. It's just like, it's not that hard, guys. Like Bruce Arena has, like, he's got a brand, right? It's like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to overcomplicate things. I'm going to pick guys who are good at specific things and play them in a position where they can use those specific skills. And
Yep.
it just feels like comparing that to what Austin FC has done over the last few years.
The center backs are going to clog up the middle. The fullbacks are going to make sure that the end lines are safe. Like crosses aren't coming in. The wingers are going to run fast to the end line and cut it back for the striker to score the goal. And then the midfield is going to make everything through the middle work. Like that's soccer. That's it.
Yeah.
Just go do soccer. And I am a little bit worried that San Jose is just going to do soccer at us on Wednesday.
Yeah. Which I'm like, it just makes me a little bit jealous of like, you don't need to buy $200 million strikers to try to play them on the field at the same time. Let's just buy one of each position and play them where they play.
Yeah. Instantly taken back to Coachella Valley Invitational when I heard the two front office guys behind us. Just, I don't get this team. This roster is so weird.
Yep. That's it.
So after we play the team that just plays soccer good, we go and get to have Houston come to us.
Yeah, Houston, not very good in 2025. Made a lot of changes this offseason. Some of them seemingly promising, but
on paper it looked good.
Yeah, but they've not really done a lot better. They're now only 2 points ahead of Austin in the table, I think. They've given up 16 goals, which is the third worst in the Western Conference. To be fair, 7 of those goals came in games where they had red cards and they lost a defender to a red card. So grain of salt there, but it's still a lot of goals.
I mean, yes and no, right? Like if you're losing a bunch of players to red cards, that's also a problem.
One of them was unfair in my eyes. So take that for what you will. But they've had the Reds, at least one of them questionable. Jack McGlynn has been injured and missed some time. I think he missed the end of last year, came back, and then has missed some time again. He's maybe on a timeline to play against us, but I wouldn't expect him to start necessarily. Of their new additions, Hector Herrera is back, but playing a much more limited role at the age of 36. Mateus Bogusz, who was at LAFC and then Cruz Azul in Mexico, had an amazing season at LAFC in 24. They sold him to Cruz Azul, didn't have a great year in Mexico, and came back to MLS, is now with Houston. He has 1 goal and 1 assist. I think it's still TBD if he's really going to be a game changer for them. But one guy who has been a game changer is Guilherme. Fake Guilherme. We have the real one, but
that's right.
This fake Guilherme. There's a lot of valid questions about them signing this guy where we've seen Austin do this a lot of times, right? And a lot of other MLS teams where, 30-plus-year-old guy, varying output in the other leagues he's played in, and signing him as your main DP. I think a lot of people had questions about it, but he seems to be quite good. He's 5 goals, 4 assists, playing, I think, nominally as a winger at times, but he floats around quite a bit and has freedom to kind of move around and go find the ball. But he has been very good. So
yeah,
I think on the Austin side, we've got some health updates from Nico Esteves today. Vasquez has the doctor's appointment next week, I think, and so he's not going to be ready for these games. Danny Pereira, it seems, was it your take that he's probably not going to play in these, or was Houston maybe a possibility?
So I have no idea. Nico has been so unclear, but like he's training again. What that means for when he'll be available, I still don't understand. So.
And then Owen, he said that San Jose is pretty much out of the question, but Houston is a possibility.
Yep.
Again, we've heard very varying timelines and there's been setbacks, so don't hold your breath or don't put money on it, but there's a chance Owen makes the bench against Houston.
Yeah, maybe. But it will be our first Copa Tejas match of the season, which means that it is exciting for us And hopefully we've got enough MLS guys in the locker room now to have that mean something to the players as well.
Yeah, for sure. Anything else, Mike? I think we should maybe wrap it up.
Yeah, I've got a lot, but not for here.
Yeah. I think it'll be interesting to see how we're all feeling next week after 2 more games have passed. And maybe we'll just do those same questions at the top of the show again to start for the next few weeks. But yeah, let's wrap it up. So we'd like to remind you to rate, review, and subscribe wherever you get your podcast. We did the cap survey for the Patreon. I'll break the news here. The dad cap won by a pretty wide margin. So I think that's the route we're going to go. Start working on designs and talking to producers to get that moving here pretty soon. Thanks so much for listening. Me and Jeremiah will be back next week to review San Jose and Houston and then preview the St. Louis home match and then cover any other Austin FC news. Until then, I'm Landon Cottam.
And I'm Mike Crignola.
We'll catch you next time.
When no one is around.
Think for nothing, you never.
La gente.
Oh my God.
Zula Chupa Boom sauce.
Yeah.